Hi, my name is John.
And my name is Lloyd.
And we're the hosts of The Pint,
a pop culture podcast.
Lloyd, if you had to tell any of the people out there that might be listening to The Pint for the first time about anything unsavory or disconcerting we might do on the show, what would you warn them about?
Well, sometimes we drop spoilers, and sometimes we swear like motherfucking sailors.
Fuck yeah, we do. You heard it from him. You've been warned.
Listen in.
It's Wet Willy time, Mo. What'em? What a maroon.
Welcome to a brand new episode of The Pint, a pop culture podcast. My name is John.
I'm Mike Butler.
Mike's here with me because about 4 years ago, Mike joined me during one of our Forgotten Februaries, along with his co-host, Mike Field, and my co-host, the Manster. And we watched a movie that me and Mike agreed we had some enjoyment of, if not liked a lot. Our co-hosts, it ruined their lives. It just about ruined their absolute lives. And that film was the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, around that time, we discussed the sequels. And during that episode, Mike here had brought up the fact that the second movie, which I had seen way back when, they changed a lot. Jim Henson was mad about the violence. If you remember the episode, or if you've ever seen the movie, the way they kill the way they kill Shredder at the end of the movie is just horrifying. And Jim Henson was pissed off about a lot of stuff. So for him to be involved, and for a lot of other reasons, Mike had mentioned that, like, in the next movie, they didn't use their weapons or anything. Out of curiosity, maybe about 3 or 4 months after that episode, I watched the second one again, and they're using sausages as nunchucks, all that stuff. And then we got in the discussion of how I had never seen the third one. I was in high school when the third one came out. So we decided at some point we were going to do it. It's a long at least talked about episode. So we're talking today about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. Let's get into it.
Hey! Hurry up! Hurry up! Hurry up!
First things first, Mike. Massive, I guess, misnomer about this movie. It is not called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 Turtles in Time. That's a video game, right?
That's the video game. If you search it, you're going to get only the video game. I always think of it as Turtles in Time, but yes, no, that is the video game, which is awesome. Which, this movie, maybe not so much.
Maybe not exactly the same. At one point in one of the DVD reprints I was reading, the manufacturer of the DVD, which I'm assuming, was whoever the company that made this movie is, New Line, someone through them. So not like some chintzy little company, actually added the Turtles in Time subheading to the title on the actual cover of the DVD. So maybe if someone out there might have a collector's edition, if they didn't know that, the only Turtles film with a subtitle is the second one, which is, of course, The Secret of the Ooze. So I thought right off the bat, that was pretty interesting. Another little interesting factoid I wanted to bring up is that Jim Henson was not on this film at all. Obviously he had passed by this point, but Henson, puppeteering, any of that stuff, not at all. It was a company called All Effects, had taken over, and a guy named Eric Allard was the, I guess, head of that. I couldn't really find much about that company. I don't know if they folded, but Eric Allard, as a special effects technician and artist, worked on Short Circuit, Stuart Little, Alien Resurrection, Spy Kids, a million movies. What did you think? Because I know what I think. What did you think of the costumes in this film? Were they different enough for you to notice, or was it pretty much the same for you?
I mean, when this movie came out, when I was like 7 or 8. Yeah, no, 6. I was 6. We had just talked about it before we aired. When I was 6, I didn't care. They were turtles and it was awesome. This movie, though, their teeth are horrifying and they show them like crazy.
Yeah.
And you can tell the eye holes underneath the masks a lot easier. They're just not as expressive. there's a scene where Raph talks to Yoshi, which toward the end, which we'll get into, but like he starts kind of having a seizure, like his mouth starts like jiggling, and I was like, oh, whoa, this is some Five Nights at Freddy's stuff. So as an adult now watching it, you can tell it's like, oh, they really cheaped out. But then when I read the note that it's like an effects company that, you know, I'd never heard of either, and it's not Jim Henson, I was like, you know, for the low budget that they had and probably a bunch of guys just starting out, it's impressive, I guess.
Yeah.
But also it's kind of like the live action TV show kind of level production budget, just not meant for a major motion picture.
I was kind of trying to think, and I hadn't seen the first one since we talked about it, and the second one right around the same time. Did they have as many, I don't know what you want to call them, like dark marks on them in the first couple movies, like those, I guess, turtley reptile effects? Because it just seemed they were distracting me at points.
Like the old turtles had small ones, like little like speckles to make them not just straight green, and each one a little different. But yeah, in this movie, I'm counting on the sides. They look like you ever watch Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Deep Space Nine?
Yes.
They look like Dax. It looks like a Betazoid, like, or not Betazoid, but it looks like Dax's people. I'm just like a trill. Like, why do they have so many dots? Am I supposed to count them? Is that how old they are? Yeah, it was super distracting.
The very beginning, when they're in the subway, the dance number and all that stuff, there's a scene where Mikey is like talking, and it's a full body shot for a while, and he's got him all over like his like groin area across his legs, and I'm like, I don't want my eyes drawn to this. Like, what are we doing? I think for me, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, the most egregious special effect in this movie that just looked to me terrible was Splinter looked like some kind of animatronic that you would see at like a, I don't know, like a Disney World or something that just is like moving like a robot. I thought it was Did you think Splinter was terrible in this?
No, Splinter was god awful. He looked like a retired Chuck E. Cheese guy, and they just put like brown hair on him instead of gray hair. He had no, like the turtles have some expression. They're just not very good. Splinter has no emotion. It's just wide-eyed or like tired, and he's just like, You're right though, like Disney, like he should be playing a banjo.
A lot of hand movements. You said it perfectly, like Chuck E. Cheese type thing. In the very beginning of the movie, when they're in the subway, he's like talking to them through what looks like a ticket taker's booth.
Yeah.
And to me, it looked like fucking Zoltar from Big or whatever. Like the way he was moving. I was like, the turtles are passable, although they're not as good as the first two movies. Obviously, you're not going to get as good as Henson, but they took a real step down when they jumped into Splinter. A real step down on that.
Yeah, they cheaped out. There is a shot where he's sitting down and they must have his head through a stick, like through the set. But everything else, like you said, he's stuck behind a window or a frame, or you only see a wide shot every shot for Splinter. Whereas in the first movie, there's stuff where he's like kind of walking and moving around. I mean, he fights Shredder at the end, and it's a full body shot, although he's holding onto the ladder. They're super cheaped out with Splinter. Yeah,
and we'll get into it as we get into the story, but another shock for me, never seeing this movie in the 32 years it's been out, is like no Shredder. Like they said, let's take everything you know about Turtles, the basic, even like the most basic stuff you know about Turtles, and let's just get rid of that. And I know Turtles had I know there's Rocksteady and Bebop, and there's the brain guy. I know all that stuff, but it just seems to me like you're coming back for a third movie, 3 years after the second or 2 years after the second. You maybe one more Shredder before you really change it up. But no, I'm waiting the whole movie. Like, I'm waiting to find out that, and we'll get into it, like Lord Tanaga or whatever is like Shredder's great grand nothing.
Yes, absolutely. I was waiting for that reveal the whole time. I was waiting for his symbol to pop up and maybe the theme to play for Shredder, and you get nothing. I was like, oh, this guy's got to be a Shredder ancestor.
Yeah, there's even a point where he opens up a scroll that shows the turtles, and there's a whole thing about how this is all prophetic. And there's like somebody, like one of his ancestors in a giant metal suit. And I'm like, oh, that's Shredder. It wasn't Shredder. We just got rid of Shredder totally.
That whole thing, and we'll get into it, but the whole movie, very much like watching as an adult, reminded me of Army of Darkness. Like the plot, the prophetic paper, the way that the fight happens at the end because they kidnap the princess. It just really reminded me of Army of Darkness the whole time. Like they just cribbed and went, yeah, we could do this.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. You're right. All right. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 came out on March 19th of 1993, written and directed by a guy named Stuart Gillard. A lot of TV stuff, One Tree Hill, Charmed, the original series, and the reboot. The only feature film I could find that he directed that I remember at all was a couple years after this, Rocket Man with Harlan. He plays that comedian, that like kind of rubber faced comedian. He plays
Harlan Williams,
and he plays like a guy that ends up going into space. He's not supposed to.
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember much about it other than it was like his go. Like, here we go. We're going to make him a star, and it didn't happen. Filmed in all entirely in Oregon. So any thoughts that they went to Japan for this did not happen.
What?
Yeah, it's all Oregon. Astoria, Cannon Beach, Saddle Mountain, Oregon. And it was filmed between June of 92 and August of 92. So there's some production stuff we talked about. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the cast of this film.
Hey, who the fuck are you? Huh? Who the fuck are you?
All right, so top billing, if you look at the credits at the end of this movie, is Elias Koteas, which I was shocked. He wasn't in the second one. I figured in my mind, and I read up on it, that because of the violence takedown from the first to the second, they had to get rid of Casey Jones, which they did. But I did not ever know he was in this movie. And he is not just playing Casey Jones, but he has a dual role as a character named Wit. You might know Elias Koteas from The Prophecy, which we did a couple months ago here, back in All Horror October, Zodiac, and the David Cronenberg weirdo film Crash. You might also know him in this film as having, as Casey Jones, maybe one of the worst wigs I've ever seen, ever, period, ever. It's awful. I don't know if it was a wig in the first movie, but it looked so much better if it was, and if not, I believe it's his real hair.
I think it was probably his real hair, because around that time, it probably worked.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Paige Turco plays April O'Neil. She had taken over the role in the second film. She was on the TV show The 100 for most of its run, the TV show Person of Interest, and the rock film The Game Plan. Mike, being a Turtles fan, are you a fan of this April O'Neil or the woman who played her in the first movie more?
I'm more of a fan of the original April. But that could just be more because of the writing. Like, I don't necessarily, like, it's a kid's movie, so you can't go like, oh, her acting was terrible, but her dialogue's also terrible. But the first April O'Neil had, like, spunk. She definitely has a little bit more, like, Lois Lane vibes, like going out, getting the story. This Lois Lane kind of whines and complains a lot. It doesn't feel like she can hold her own against the Turtles. But neither one is wearing the yellow jumpsuit, so what do I care? Neither of them are the real April O'Neil.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so here was another surprise in this film. Stuart Wilson, a classic 90s bad guy, plays Walker, who is a arms supplier, mercenary. He's Destro from G.I. Joe, essentially, working for Cobra Commander. That's how I looked at this. You know him from the Ray Liotta film No Escape. He was the bad guy in Lethal Weapon 3, and years later, he was in Hot Fuzz. Okay, so I have a couple more here. Sab Shimono plays Lord Norinaga, which in Japanese translates to not Shredder. He is the villain of the film. He was in Presumed Innocent with Harrison Ford. He was in Gung Ho, the Michael Keaton Detroit Auto movie from the mid-'80s.
Yep.
And Three Ninjas Kickback. I've never seen a Three Ninjas movie. I figure that's probably your time, right? Like,
oh yeah, it probably is. Maybe a little bit older than me, but yeah, maybe not.
It's got one of my favorite titles, right?
4.
Three Ninjas Knuckle Up is one of them. I love that. It's just a great title to a movie.
The first couple are kind of fun. Like, you might get a kick out of them just because how, like, late 80s, 90s they are.
And doesn't Hulk Hogan show up in them, or at least one of them?
In, like, one of them briefly. I think the second one.
Okay.
I think, if I remember correctly.
Tons of actors and stuntmen are listed as playing and performing the Turtles in the suits. I'm not doing all that. So I'm going to give you the voices for this one. Brian Tochi returns as Leonardo. He was in Revenge of the Nerds. He was in The Octagon. He's a massive voice talent. Corey Feldman returns. I didn't know this either.
Yeah.
Corey Feldman did not get brought back for the second movie. It was around the time of his drug bust, and I'm sure that played into it. But, by 93, he had cleaned up again, and so he comes back as Donatello. If you know Corey Feldman, but if you've never YouTubed his music video for a song called Ascension Millennium, you just got to do it right now because it's fucking incredible. Tim Kelleher is Raphael. As an actor, he's been in Inception and Clockers. Is he the original voice actor or no?
I don't know.
Okay, but he's got the real Brooklyn accent still.
He does it well. Yeah, he pulls it off.
And Robbie Rist returns as Michelangelo. If you don't know Robbie Rist, massive voice talent, but he was also Cousin Oliver on the Brady Bunch. And weirdly, and I looked this up, I could not find how, but if you watch this movie, watch the credits.
Oh, thank you. I was going to ask. I was like, I didn't have time to look that up.
Okay, the R.
Yeah.
Yeah. So his name comes up at the end, and it says Robbie Rist, and then there's a big round R, almost like a copyright sign or trademark sign. And I have never seen that in a credit ever. And before we got on, I jumped on and I looked at a bunch of places and I could find nothing.
Yeah. I was hoping his IMDb would say it, but yeah.
I skimmed it, so maybe if I deep dive into it, I could look more into it after. But yeah, so if you watch this movie, watch the credits, and if you know, I don't know, message us or something, because I just found that very bizarre. I've never seen that before. All right, so let's get into it, Mike. We're in 1603 feudal Japan, and we've got a bunch of samurais on top of horses chasing down a guy through a forest. Meanwhile, a young girl is kind of watching this action unfurl from like behind a tree. Finally, he gets captured, and what happens at this point, Mike?
The turtles go back, or he goes back in time. He's got the scepter, right? Or does he steal the scepter?
Well, at this point, they just take him back. They tell him, you have to come back.
Oh, right. It's the prince. He gets captured. He's got to go back to his daddy.
Yeah, he's got to go back to his daddy. His dad is Lord Norianga, who is a warlord, and the prince does not see eye to eye with his father and his feudal ways. The prince is also, they don't really ever fully say it early on, but he seems to have a relationship with this rebellious young girl that was watching. So, we're kind of setting up almost a Star Wars type thing happening here in the very beginning. So that is kind of like a little precursor. Then we jump back to, 1993 with the turtles. And I will admit, this opening scene with the turtles stressed me out because I thought, oh no, I'm going to hate this movie really, 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 really fucking bad. And I don't want to ever lose the joke of us against Mike and Lloyd. I don't want to side, but I was like, this is going to be a hard watch. I will tell you, without giving away my rating, it definitely does not stay at that level, at least like for maybe bits and pieces. But so Mike, it's like a dance scene, right? ZZ Top, they're choreographic dancing.
Yeah, they're dancing to a song that even in 1993, if they're really teenagers, I don't think they'd be dancing to. Like, It didn't make any sense. It's like, oh, this song's like maybe too old for you guys to be really excited about. But you're getting music from the sewers. Maybe, it's like Europe. You're getting popular music a few years later.
This is the first movie in the three movies that there was not a original like song written for. This is like a 1984 ZZ Top song that they're just dancing to. April comes back, Splinter is there. They're in the sewer. April comes back from the flea market and she's bought everybody something. I don't know. Maybe it was written this way. I felt like Donatello had way more lines than anybody else in this movie and or more than he normally did. Was I just thinking that or?
Donnie's got a lot of lines. I think they're like, it's Corey Feldman. Let's keep giving him some, even though we only paid him $1,500.
Right.
We got him back. That's our big thing. So let's give him some lines. But also, he's got to explain a lot of the ridiculousness in this film. So it's kind of all on him to explain, miraculously use his 1993 computer to figure out what the scepter does and the rules of time travel. Donnie has to do a lot of heavy lifting.
The scepter, by the way, so we're going to get into it. April picks up what looks like a scepter, a lamp maybe, and gives that to, who does she give that one to?
I believe she gives it to Splinter.
Okay, she gives it to Splinter. That is actually from the Mirage Eastman Laird stuff. That is apparently something that is, I didn't write it down. It's something that is connected to another Turtles villain. So this actually apparently is something that is in the comics at one point. So she brings the scepter out. And just kind of to get where we're going, this thing starts to go off. It starts to spin. It starts to undulate. And all of a sudden, April's covered in like an electrical shear. And then next thing we know, she disappears, right? She disappears. Now, on the other end, in feudal Japan, 1603, the son of the warlord has also found an identical scepter. And he is holding on to his. So they switch places. Right? This is I guess Freaky Friday, but with time.
Time traveling Freaky Friday.
So he shows up and they're shocked. What's going on? And April ends up in Japan. Now, April ends up in Japan with, a Walkman and all these things. What do they think she is back in that time?
Don't they think she's a witch?
They think she's a witch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they put her through some tests and they determine she's not a witch. But then they lock her up anyway. And they keep her kind of in the jail of their area. So the turtles decide that they have to figure out how to go back in time to get with April, but Donnie's also trying to figure out how time travel works. So Mike, give us a couple of the rules of time travel, especially like the switching one.
You switch not just yourself, but the clothes that you came with, which does make sense why her Walkman stays though, but I guess she's wearing it. So I guess it counts. The clothes inexplicably fit the wearer. They just morph to whatever. And I believe the rule is 2.5 days. Yeah. It's a weird timeline, but you have 2.5 days to have the exact same people touch the scepter again. If the person on one end and the person on the other end aren't holding the scepter at the same time again, you don't go back.
Right. So they plan on they figure out how to get this thing going, and the turtles touch the scepters and end up going back in time. They initially planned on swapping. I don't know how they were going to set this up. I don't think they ever explained it. They were going to swap with like some monks or something, right?
Well, it's a family heirloom, so it's within their temple.
Okay.
So the prince is just assuming I'm just disappeared. It's going to be a bunch of priests holding it because it's going to be on the ground. So they're going to be doing all their stuff with it. But I don't know how he assumes four people are holding it, but
yeah, there's a lot of like, if you don't get into plot holes in this movie. You're walking off a cliff. So they end up swapping places. But they swap places with the warlords, assassins, who are on horseback because they are going somewhere with the actual, the scepter. The turtles swap places and end up on horseback. These guys come back. Now, I'm watching this movie with my girlfriend last night, and I said to her, I don't feel like I'm being smart by saying this, but these guys are going to become Americanized party animals. And I could have written the script to this because eventually these 4 Japanese guys that don't speak any English start to become acclimated to the ways. Now, Splinter can't just watch these guys alone, so who shows up to help him out?
Our good friend Casey Jones.
Yeah, we got like a fucking metal riff, and he comes in, bad wig, hockey stick. We do get the mask a little bit later on, but that's during one of those scenes that kind of lends to what I just said about these guys. And the movie at this point now just starts to become mostly turtle stuff in 1603, but we occasionally jump back to current time to see these guys like, I don't know. I don't even remember if they start to like pizza. They go to an arcade. They
eating
dance
junk food, watching hockey.
He tries to teach them some hockey stuff. They get into Tarzan Boy by Baltimora. It's a whole bunch of stuff. They end up on the horseback in this raid, and Donnie, Raph, and Leo are on their horses normally, but Michelangelo ended up backwards. And as he's riding through the forest, he gets hit by the rebellious girl in the head with a bow staff, and very much like Princess Leia and the Ewoks, they take him back, right?
Yeah,
to their place. Kind of get into the Walker character, Mike, who is working with Lord what's his name? Lord Norinaga. What is his whole deal? What is he there for?
He's playing the same character he does in Mask of Zorro.
That's right. He is in Mask of Zorro too. He's the bad guy. Yes.
He's just there to support the government. He's there to, I assume, on behalf of the British, or no, he's got to be a Spaniard the way he's dressed. He's there to support the Spanish government's interests in Japan and do trading with them. But the way they trade, obviously, back then in the 1600s is with their military and naval might. So he's there to offer guns and support to crush the rebellion in exchange for all their precious metals and golds and stuff. But he's also a dick. So like they butt heads, but they also get on just fine.
Yeah. He himself has a group of his, like, I guess, henchmen or mercenaries. The main one who throughout the movie keeps on getting wet willied by the turtles and their gigantic gross fingers look like fat Ridley Scott. Did you notice that by any chance?
He does look a lot like Ridley Scott.
He looked like fat Ridley Scott. So there's a lot of talk in this, and it just kind of goes on for a while, of the rebellion and Norinaga. And then Norinaga thinks the turtles, when he finally kind of becomes aware of their presence, are something else. What does he think they are?
He thinks they are, oh my God, what's the name of them? He thinks they are Japanese demons, like real existing like Japanese demons where you can find in the lore. But he not only thinks that they're real demons, but that they are prophesized to have been in the past turtles of vengeance that came and destroyed his family when they were, also getting up to no good. What does he say? Like 200, 300 years beforehand or something? Yappa, right? Yappa, Kappa,
yes.
Kappa demons. And that now they're back because once again, he's become kind of corrupt and lost his way. And they're there kind of, defeat him and take down his army because, I think he kind of knows he sucks now again. Like he knows that he's not the best leader that he can be. And, it kind of eats him up inside, but it kind of doesn't because he still goes along with everything.
Do you think that those 4 henchmen, assassins, marauders, traditional masks would fit the turtles if they switched their? I don't think.
Hell no!
their head shape is totally different.
Yeah, the masks have beaks.
Yeah, they have these, and they're cool. They have those like kind of metal masks that maybe you don't see detail too well, but maybe they look like dragons' mouths or something.
Oh yeah,
a warrior tactic from the day.
I had a couple of those figures actually growing up. I think I had a Leonardo and like a Raphael or something.
Oh,
the samurai ones, yeah.
Samurai action figures from Galoob, probably. All right, so April is in her jail cell in the basement of the Lord's castle. Who does she run into there? I didn't expect this.
An ancestor of Casey Jones, played by Elias Katai. Like, he's just the same guy. Like, they must have had him. He probably had the short hair, but either he grew a beard for that, or they just that beard is pretty good. I'll say hair's not good in the future. His beard's awesome. Yeah,
no, he looks great in the old time,
in the dirty 1800s prisoner version.
Yeah, he looks great. And I thought my thought throughout the whole movie was, I wonder if April O'Neil, even though, do they ever say that he's an ancestor, or is it just a weird coincidence?
It's just a weird coincidence, but I got the feeling that the reason she kind of rejects his advances pretty quick is that look she gives, where she kind of like, I feel like the director was like, look at him. You realize maybe he's an ancestor. But they don't like write it in. But she does give him a look before she's like, no. Like when he starts hitting on her, she like thinks about it and goes, no.
Yeah. I honestly thought that she was going to be like, I can do something most women have never done. I can score with the great grandfather and the guy who I banged 2 movies ago.
I could be my own boyfriend's great grandmother.
She could have caused a real time paradox that would have sent the turtles to some other time. So they start to kind of talk to each other, and eventually, the turtles come upon Mikey. They eventually, as they're doing all this stuff, they come upon Mikey, who has been, I thought it was weird. Here's something I thought was weird, and this is just another weird thing. So they capture Mikey, the resistance, girl, captures Mikey, and she doesn't know what he is. She thinks he's one of the marauders. She obviously knows that he's not normal because she sees that he's like a mutated turtle.
Right.
She locks him in where it looks like they keep all their food. Would you lock a prisoner in your fucking pantry in the 1600s? I'd be careful with my food.
Well, if we're to assume that, I would assume all the educated characters know what a kappa is, maybe.
Yeah.
You don't want to make a kappa mad because, like Splinter explained, some kappas were very good and some kappas were very bad. You don't want to starve your kappa. If you capture one, like a Pokemon, you want to make sure it's well fed and taken care of because you don't want it to use his powers against you.
Got to catch and feed them all. Yeah, okay. So they all kind of reunite, and they eventually, do they storm the castle? Is that how they reunite with April? I can't remember how they get her back.
They use their honor guard disguises and sneak into the castle after the battle.
Right.
And then just find their way into the prison.
So they get her out, and they also let Wit out, the Casey Jones character.
Yep.
And this is kind of like where the movie kind of just like, we go back to the rebellion's camp, and this is where the turtles ingratiate themselves with everybody. People in 1602. There's at the end of the movie, and we'll get into it, there's a whole thing where like most of the turtles don't want to go home. because they feel more comfortable here. They don't have to live in the sewer, and little children aren't afraid of them. And so I kind of like the idea behind that. Donnie is the only one who doesn't want to stay, and well, besides April. And the reason is he can't imagine living without microchips, which is, I get the idea. He's a tech dude, but it was a fucking bad line. There's a lot of lines in this movie. I was going to make a list of
all the lines.
I was going to make a list of things that I'm surprised I didn't hear in this movie from some of the jargon they use. Like, I was surprised they never said, "Where's the beef?" I'm surprised nobody ever said, like, in a Schwarzenegger accent, "I'll be back," because this movie is like, I'm a turtle and I can't get up, like stuff like that. I'm sure they did that in the first two movies too.
I swear the second movie has "I'll be back." I could swear I can picture Donnie or Mikey saying "I'll be back." So I think they say it in the second one, which I saw only like a few months ago, because my girlfriend and I were like, let's do a Turtles rewatch. We'll go order some pizza and we'll watch the first two Turtles with you. And I was like, oh really? Oh yeah, let's do it. And then she fell asleep by the second one, but I watched it.
She didn't get to see Vanilla Ice?
No. No, I woke her. She woke up by Vanilla Ice. I was like, they're in the club. She's like, oh, okay.
My girlfriend's my age, and when we were watching this movie when I finished it this morning, she had said she never saw the second one, and I'm like, well, you obviously know Ninja Rap. She's like, no, what's that? And I'm like, it's the Vanilla Ice song that he did, and he's in the movie. And she's like, I didn't know that. And I'm like, now I gotta fucking watch Secret of the Ooze again, which is fine. I didn't hate that one either. So, all right. So kind of got a little bit of the home life going on. Walker and his men attack. They've made a deal to supply the Lord with weaponry that will kill these Kappa. Somehow bullets will kill the Kappa when nothing else can. They attack the village, and at one point I laughed so fucking hard. They corner Walker on his horse, and he sees a part in the fence that's like bowed out, and I'm like, is this guy gonna jump through that in his horse? Now he does, but he breaks the fence too.
Right.
I thought they were gonna try to show him jumping perfectly through it. But before all that, they end up burning down some of the village, and one of the huts that is really on fire has a little kid in it. Mike, what happens to this scene?
Well, Mikey decides he's going to be the hero he was always meant to be. He goes in, which, I mean, I got to say, the stunt is awesome, because like he goes into the burning building, he puts on a wet blanket to go save the kid, but that person in that Turtles costume, which I can't imagine isn't flammable, walks into that burning building.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of, like, he's got to be sweating already, and he's going into that burning building. That is some balls. That turtle's got some balls.
It was a good stunt. He comes out, busts through the door holding the kid, but he puts the kid down, and I thought, no way is this movie going there. Because he takes the blanket off. The kid's name is Yoshi. The village elder is like, or the woman, I can't remember, is like, he has no life. And I'm like, for a brief second, I'm like, do they kill the kid in Turtles 3? If they kill the kid in Turtles 3, I give this another point all at the end in my rating, because I would not believe that. Now they don't. Leonardo, I don't know. What does he do? He doesn't do CPR. Does he?
He does lame CPR.
Yeah.
He does two compressions, and then he's like, it doesn't breathe in his mouth again. He goes like, huh, huh, huh. And then 1, 2, hold, stand back, everyone. And then all of a sudden the kid comes back.
It's weird that Leonardo's the one that saves him, and yet meanwhile the kid develops a relationship with Ralph, which I thought was a little odd.
Because they both have anger issues, and Ralph connects with that.
Yeah. I also found it weird. There's a scene where Ralph connects with him, and then the kid kind of is going to go fly kites with his friend, and Ralph goes, I just laughed at this. I don't know why. He goes, go ahead, go fly kites with your friends. I'll catch up with you later. And then the kid runs over, grabs a kite, and he goes, Yoshi, hold on, I'll be right there. And I'm like, you just said but anyways, right, I laughed at that line. So, okay, Mike, where are we now?
Well, Walker now believes that there are the Kappa. Like, he didn't believe it at first, that there's demons. Now he believes it. He's telling the Daimyo, hey, these things are monsters. I can kill them for you, but you're going to need cannons and even stronger weapons. And he's like, I'll give you silver. I'll give you whatever. And he's like, nope, you're giving me gold. And he says, screw off. You're not getting gold. And Walker's like, all right, deal with the Kappa on your own. And then we go back to the Turtles. Oh, they're John. They've decided the only way to go back in time is to build their own freaking magic scepter somehow using the blacksmith.
Yeah, the blacksmith. Yeah, Donatello.
Because he's good with his hands.
Yeah, he's good with his hands. I like how Donatello at one point is like talking to himself. He's like square root of 75. He's like doing calculations, and that doesn't work at all. Nothing. Does. I'm trying to remember. Is that the one? Do they actually build it, and that's the one that they fucking drop? Because they're being idiots.
Because they're being the what was it? Raph and Donnie have like Raph and Mikey fight over the well. Or no, it's like a toilet. It's not even a well. I'm pretty sure it's the toilet. And then they drop it down the toilet.
And April is just like, fuck, I just want to go home. I just want to go home. This is awful. So they determine that they have to, I'm trying to remember, they have to find the original one, but nobody knows where the original one is. Well, they eventually find out, I think Raph finds it, that the original one has been hid in one of the huts.
Yoshi has had it.
Yoshi has had it all along. And he contacts the other turtles, tells him we can go back now. But then there's the added part of like, well, you were keeping us here. You hid this. And we find out was it the village elder or was it the rebellious girl? I can't remember which one of them claimed it was.
They think it's the rebellious girl. And she doesn't say no, it wasn't her. And then immediately the village elder comes and, was like, no, this emotion in a kid's movie can't last. I hid the scepter. Right. Because you need to stay and help us defeat, the Daimo and save our village.
Because the Daimo's coming back for one last attack.
In the morning, yeah.
Yeah, in the morning. So the turtles do end up sticking around to help save the day, and this is where we get a giant battle scene between the forces of the Daimo and Walker's forces.
The turtles only go because April, not April gets kidnapped. What happens?
Oh, they kidnap, Walker kidnaps the girl.
He kidnaps the girl, and he's, because it's revealed that Casey Jones' ancestor is actually bad.
He's a spy.
Kidnaps the girl, asks for the scepter, so the turtles have no choice. But they were straight up going to leave and let the village burn.
Yes, they were.
And then they were like, shit, now we got to help her.
So they stick around. Casey Jones' ancestor has been a spy the whole time. Spoiler alert, they let him off easy at the end. Like it's one of those bad guy turns where comes out of left field and you're like, oh, this guy's a shitbag. But then at the end, it's like, we're supposed to kind of forget about it. I thought that was kind of funny.
Well, they can't kill him off because he's got to bang his way into Casey Jones.
Yeah, they can't kill him off, but they certainly can kill another bad guy in a horrifying manner in this movie. We'll get to that in 1 second. So Norinaga and his guys come, everybody attacks. Now we did get a scene that I thought was pretty cool where it's all of Walker's guys and they are doing target practice on like sandbag dummies on the beach. I got to ask you, Mike, does a cannonball work this way? So there is a 4-headed sandbag with like, I guess some like planks or something holding it up.
Right.
And Walker unveils that he has like an actual cannon and he lights the thing with a cigar and boom, and it hits the first sandbag, but then the other 3 blow up. Cannonballs don't work like that, do they? Or was it some kind of explosive?
There are other cannonballs that, there's the big heavy ones, but there are ones that work more like shotgun shells or cannonballs that have kind of like firework type things where they'll fire and then explode themselves again once they hit something.
Okay, so I didn't realize that.
There were all types of special ammunition, but does one go in a perfectly in a line timed like that? I don't think so.
Yeah, it was a great effect, but it was stupid in the story.
Cool.
So next morning, Norinaga and Walker attack, and we get just the whole battle royale. Everybody's fighting. Everybody's Norinaga fights Leonardo in a battle, and when he is finally defeated by Leonardo, he basically does the Japanese thing and is like, well, you have to put me out of my, you have to give me an honorable death.
Right.
And Leonardo goes Anakin Skywalker with his fucking swords, crosses him over, and you think he's about to Count Dooku him, but he does not. He just gives him a little haircut. He goes up and the little top knot on the top, he cuts that off.
Which is almost worse. Like, that's like such a shameful thing for a samurai.
Yeah. And then they didn't kill him, so I'll preface it by that.
Right.
But then, as Norinaga gets up, they cut a rope and this giant fucking metal structure falls on him. And I'm like, did they just spare him to just kill him after? But it's not killing him. It's hollow. He's entrapped inside of it, which leads to what I think is one of the funniest visual jokes in this movie is eventually that thing gets hit by cannon fire or gunfire.
Right.
And when it gets sheared off the top, he sticks his head out and his hair looks electrified and he's got like black all over his face and he looks stunned. I actually laughed out loud at that. I thought that was pretty fucking funny.
It was a nice Looney Tunes moment. Yeah.
Yeah, it worked. All right, give us the Walker stuff and Walker's End, which, man, again, these fucking turtles and Splinter just killing people left and right.
Walker surrounds the turtles. More of his men come in, and they're all like, we're gonna shoot you. And the turtles are basically like, no, you're not. Because bullets don't work on us. So he fires the cannon. That's what destroys the bell. But the turtles have ducked and went into their shell. And Walker's like, what the okay, I'm done. I don't know what you guys are. Runs, grabs his bird, which we don't really know he's super obsessed with, but I guess he was. The bird shows like once he's feeding his bird. So he's running on the rooftops with his bird, gotta get out. Does he hold his gold? Is that what's in his other hand?
I know he has the birds, because like you said, the birds are a thing in one scene, and now he's like, can't leave you behind, my preciouses.
I got you, baby, I got you. And he runs across the rooftop like a little like jackrabbit coward. The turtles catch up to him. He's got the scepter in his other hand, and
right.
he's basically gonna throw it off the edge of the castle walls into the rocks and water below. He throws it up so the turtles can't get to him. He's about to climb down the rope to his boat, all safe. And the turtles push out. Don't kill Walker. It's Wit that kills Walker by basically throwing a fireball cannon at him, which again is exactly how they take out the evil Ash in Army of Darkness. So that's another like, we're just cribbing Army of Darkness here.
Same year though.
That's true. Same year. Takes him out with a fiery cannon, not cannon, catapult, and launches him down into the water below. So the turtles are safe from ever killing anyone. Only Splinter and random characters get to kill people. The
effect of him falling is actually pretty good, like the height wise of it. But when he hits the water, you see nothing. He just disappears.
Yeah.
Like vanishes. So he's done. They let Wit go. We have a reconciliation with the father and the son who's coming back in a minute. He'll be switching out with them. But the turtles don't all want to go. Michelangelo really doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to live in a world where he has to live in a sewer anymore. And Leonardo kind of feels the same way. And Raphael's willing to stay because you figure he has the connection with Yoshi. Donatello.
And Michelangelo wants to bang the rebel leader. Like he's really into her. Like he thinks it's going to work anatomically somehow.
Yeah. I don't want to see that. And then eventually, Donatello and April O'Neil are like, we're getting the fuck out of here. Like, we gotta go. Meanwhile, back in America, the four horsemen, I guess you call them the assassins.
I think the honor guard. Yeah.
Honor guard. They are just partying hard with Casey Jones. When finally they all end up touching their respective lanterns, the scepter, and everybody gets going. But Michelangelo, isn't in with everybody, and he doesn't grab onto everybody right away, and they disappear without him. So we see the switch happen, and we see on our side, we have back in 1993 New York, we have April, Raph, Donatello, and Leonardo, and Splinter is like, where's Michelangelo? And the other one of the honor guard is still there, the sumo looking guy. So bring us into the take over and get us through the end of this, Mike.
So it's the sumo looking guy, the guy who was, I think it's the same guy that was hugging Casey before.
Yeah.
Like he really didn't want to go. So all of a sudden he sees that he lucked out. Mikey didn't get there in time because he was too busy macking on the princess. Sumo guy grabs the scepter, runs, which is all like, no, it's not broken yet. He grabs the scepter, tries to run up the sewers and escape. The turtles are after him. All of a sudden, there's a bright flash of light, which apparently changes the color of the sky as well, because it stays that color. And they're like, oh, who's going to come down the ladder? Guess what, guys? Don't worry. There's no conflict here. It's Michelangelo. No big deal. The 2.5 day rule, turns out, Donatello just didn't know what the hell he was talking about, because it's an ancient scepter, and no possibly way that he could figure out what it does. Mikey comes back, he's all depressed because, he lost his princess. Turns out he's not getting any. And Splinter puts a lampshade on his head and does a blue Hawaii impression, does some like Hawaii stuff. Michelangelo laughs. The other turtles dance, and we're all good, baby. We saved the day. The scepter is destroyed. On the other end, the prince and his father reconnect.
Happy ending for sure. Michelangelo is so dramatic. He sits down and he says to Splinter, "I don't know if I'll ever laugh again." And literally, Splinter puts a fucking lampshade on his head and he laughs immediately. Like, all right, dude, chill out. It's okay. So that's it. That's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. Again, not Turtles in Time. At one point I read they were thinking of scripting a 4. 4 would have been called, I think it was called The Second Mutation.
Yeah.
And the idea was that whatever the waste, the nuclear stuff that was in their systems would mutate them again. And they were going to add a 5th turtle. Supposedly, this is just stuff I read, that was named Kirby after Jack Kirby, because, all the artist stuff, but this was going to be a comic artist thing. And this movie kind of didn't do well enough to warrant that. Years later, in 2007, we got the CGI one, which I guess I did like that one.
That one's very good. Yeah, it's technically a sequel.
Right, because it's supposed to be these versions of the characters, right?
Yeah.
Once we get into the Michael Bay stuff and whatever the thing that came out a couple years ago, that's all disconnected. So there you go, 1993's TMNT 3. Let's talk about the box office.
Show me the money.
Just looking good, but I think I'm taking too long.
Back to the spot for a Glock. I took a loss over Frost, but still got a knock.
Money!
All right, so March 19th through the 21st of 1993, here are the top 5 films in the box office that weekend. Number 5, it had been out for 6 weeks, $3.7 million. Bill Murray in Groundhog Day. Number 4, movie I absolutely love, out for 2 weeks, $3.8 million. CB4 with Chris Rock. Number 3, a movie that was out for 2 weeks at that time as well, $4 million. And I just, 2 weeks ago, listened to, because I think I missed it, the Forgotten Cinema episode on this film. And I watched this film about a year and a half ago as well, for the first time since theaters. Fire in the Sky.
Hey.
Yeah.
Our alien episode.
Yeah. Yep. Number 2 opened that week. Made $7.2 million. A remake of La Femme Nikita with Bridget Fonda, Point of No Return. And I'm surprised by this, because I thought this movie pretty much just tanked. Opening at number 1, $12.4 million. Turtles 3. So this movie actually opened at number 1, which I think here's what I feel about this movie and this franchise. I feel like even 3 years after the first one, and the first one was a huge hit, one of the biggest independent movies of all time, I feel like the fan base grew up enough that nobody cared by this point, but apparently people did care, because another thing that surprised me was this was a $21 million budget movie, and I read 2 different numbers, so I'll give you both. I read that it made $42 million or $54 million. So this movie made money. I 100% expected this to have been a total under budget failure. It is not. This movie made money.
Well, I was 6 when this came out. I was still steeped in my Turtles. There was still a whole generation ready to go on Turtles.
But maybe the 11-year-olds that loved the first one are now 14 or 15, and they're like, I'm thinking about girls or something like that.
I'm sure they aged out, yeah. It's kind of like the He-Man or G.I. Joe situation. By my time, G.I. Joe, He-Man started fading out, but there was a good, 10, 12 years of He-Man, G.I. Joe. So you kind of had 2 generations or 2 sets of kids that enjoyed it. Yeah. I was kind of the back half of the Turtles, so there were still true believers.
Let's rate this thing.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes. It was fun.
All right, 0 to 5, 0 being the worst thing ever, 5 being the best thing ever, quarter and half scale optional. I'll go first. So me and Mike again notoriously didn't hate on the first movie.
I love the first movie.
I enjoy it. I don't love it. I don't love it, but I certainly wasn't. I don't have to point to a doll and show anybody where it touched me like Lloyd and Mike did. Show me where Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990 touched you. I don't have to do that. Yeah, now I'm never going to not think of, people think of like Dread and the Raid Redemption as being very similar in tone and
Right,
story.
yeah.
Now this movie and Army of Darkness are going to be in my fucking head forever.
You're welcome.
So, yeah, so there's a bonus there. And again, much like that other movie, same year. Yeah, I mean, the idea is interesting. Send them back in time. They did something a little bit different. I gotta be honest, like, even though we've got two villains, they're both weak. Like, I would have rather had it been Shredder. I would have rather had it been a halfway reveal that, like, Shredder somehow attacks Splinter in New York and touches the scepter and flies back and change places with Noranaga, and he's stuck with Splinter, and we find out he becomes like a fucking party animal. Like, it could have worked better. I would have rather have seen Shredder again. To be honest, there's a lot of bad dialogue in this movie. And I say that as a nearly 50-year-old guy that realizes this isn't written for me. So maybe for young kids at the time, you know, that's what they needed. But like, it definitely is. There's a lot of corniness in this movie. I am not kidding. The opening scene where they're dancing in the subway, I thought, oh, fuck me. I'm not going to get through an hour and 36 minutes of this movie. But it definitely reaches into enough other stuff. Return of the Jedi, and there's enough other little things in here, story-wise, that are familiar enough for me to go, okay, this isn't terrible. I'm gonna pretty much just go as almost baseline as you can. I'll never watch this again. I'm not offended by it. The effects aren't as good as the original ones, but again, you're not going to beat Jim Henson and all that stuff. So I'm going to go with a 2.5. I feel like this is just kind of like an average watch for me. If it was on TV, am I going to watch any more of it? I don't know. But I mean, I can't hate on it either, because for what it is, I guess here's how I have to look at it. For what it is, it's a decently put together movie. It's not terrible. So I'm going to go 2.5. Mike, you've got more skin in this game. So I think me and the audience are a little bit more interested in what you rate this as a Turtles fan.
I mean, I grew up with this movie. Obviously, it came out when I was 6. I did see this one in the theaters. This is probably the only one of the 3 I saw in the theaters. So it's got like a nostalgia base. I understand, like you just said, it's not made for me now. It was made for me then. And I remember as a kid, I thought a lot of the dialogue was really funny. Like, I remember the burnt pizza frisbee scene, and thinking that was hilarious when I was a kid. And I watch it now going, I remember really laughing at that. It's all right. I mean, it's brothers fighting, I guess. It's not as good as the first one. I love the fact that the first one doesn't, and I think I talk about it in our episode when we talk about it, like, it doesn't hold a kid's hand. It doesn't play toward a kid. It's dark and gritty, kind of like the comics. It doesn't go too far, but it goes far enough to be like, hey kids, we're not gonna coddle you. And I always appreciate that. This one does a lot. Like you said, it's not Jim Henson. The effects aren't as good. I'll probably watch this again just because of nostalgia. I've got to keep watching my Turtles every once in a while. Maybe in my 40s, I'll turn this back on again. But I think your opinion is correct. I think as a film, it's probably a one shell out of 5, but I got to give it a 2.5 as well. It serves its purpose. It's certainly better than the second one, story wise. And there were a couple of moments where I genuinely chuckled. Like, I was like, that's actually not a bad joke.
Well, I'm glad we finally did this. Now I've seen all the Turtles films, except for the newest one. I haven't seen.
I've heard it's really good, but I haven't seen it either.
You haven't seen it. That's okay. That's a surprise. Mutant Mayhem. Maybe, you know what? Let's do that one too. We'll watch that in next couple weeks or so and reconvene and maybe put that one on the Patreon at some point. All right. So you guys were listening to The Pint. You know where to find us on Instagram. It's at The Pint Pop. If you go to anywhere you get your podcast, just find The Pint, a pop culture podcast. We got a YouTube channel, mostly just kind of, recirculates our audio episodes, but in video format. And I find that I've been told some people, that's how they listen to it. They throw it on the TV and do stuff around the house. So you could do that as well. But the man of the hour here, Mike Butler, has a really awesome podcast I'm a big fan of. And I want him to tell everybody out there, where they can listen and remind everybody, because I know it's been a super long time. We have done episodes in the interim, but we are going to get back to our Forgotten Sequels, which just got blown off the rails by all the chaos in my life a few years ago. Right. We are going to be doing Tron Legacy very soon. So, we're going to get into that. I'm looking forward to that. And actually, it's kind of timely. We've waited so long because there's another Tron movie coming out.
Tron Ares is going to be out by the time
By that time, you'll be able to listen to that episode, watch Tron Legacy, and then go see Tron Ares. But Mike, tell everybody about Forgotten Cinema.
Forgotten Cinema is a podcast about forgotten films that seem to be forgotten by audiences, whether it be because a more popular movie was released at the same time or the film simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. We discuss what we love about the movie, don't love about it, but we always recommend you revisit it. Like this one, you never know, you might find your own forgotten gem. We come out every Wednesday. There's a regular episode. We have now showings where we do new releases. For instance, we had just watched Sinners. I'm going to be editing Sinners at some point today to have it released tomorrow. We've got our lead up episodes where we look at movies leading up to big new releases. I think our next one's going to be Jurassic Park. We're kind of talking about it. We were going to do Final Destination, but there's just not enough time. And then we got our Patreon where we have exclusive episodes as well. John is the founding member of the Patreon. Actually, he's the first guy on there. But yeah, we do forgotten films. We talk about them. You go look at our list. We've got over 300 episodes. I'm sure you'll find something where, you know, you'll be like, oh man, I forgot that film even existed. And we've taken a look at it. Like Field goes over the release list. Like you just had Fire in the Sky. Every week we're like, this movie came out around this time. Oh man, we did that on the episode. So we've got tons of films for you guys to look at. Check us out. We're on everywhere podcasts can be. And we're also mainly on YouTube now. That seems to be where we get most of our hits. As long as we don't do hour and 10-minute episodes like our Firm episode. Didn't seem to hit very well, but just find us. We love talking movies, and hit us up on the socials, Forgotten Cinema Pod. We're everywhere.
All right. Till next time. See ya.
It's over, Johnny. It's over! Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off!